Good morning. It's Brian here over at Expert Dojo. This is again my weekly happy hour because I get to join the Art of Startup War, where we interview one of the founders that Expert Dojo have invested into. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, for all of you folks listening and you want to get into the mind of a founder who is building a unicorn, this is your chance to join their startup hero journey. You're going to find out the difficult parts at the beginning, the genesis of the idea, how they forced themselves past those initial impossible times. You're going to hear how they built the product, how they got customer validation, how they got it out to market, how they built it, how customers reacted, how did they raise money, who did they raise money from, and then how did they build that scaling that is going to take them from those initial days where they had $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, all the way up to where they're going, which is tens of millions of dollars a month in revenue. Now, you all know that the reason that Expert Dojo invests in these companies is the same reason that any other investor invests in the companies. And that is because we know that this company is going to be an incredible money-raising tool to help them grow as fast as possible. And the company that I have here today is a phenomenal company in the automation space. I love what they're doing. They take voice and they take automation and they turn it into something which is incredible and builds efficiencies at first into hospitals and also into health centers and then all the way through into other industries as well in the future. So I want to kick off and I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for letting us invest in you. It was a beautiful moment. We're still absolutely delighted at where you are. But can you introduce a little bit about Voiceoc? Tell us how the genesis of the idea happened, how you've built it, and maybe a little bit about those early days when you were first developing it out.
Sure, Brian. Thank you so much for having me here. So it all began almost 2 years back when one of my co-founders' aunt was diagnosed with cancer. Their family was getting treated in a big hospital based out of Delhi, and they faced a lot of inconvenience in booking appointment or getting reports or availing support. In a disease like cancer, it's very important that you get regular support from the healthcare company, but that was not the case. And we realized that if this could happen in a city like Delhi, imagine what it could be like in other parts of India. In fact, not just India, what could it be in other parts of the developing nations? That's when this idea broke out that we should do something. The situation is horrible. There's something that needs to be done significantly to help all these healthcare companies improve patient experience. And that's how Voiceoc idea came up.
And this is really communication within the healthcare experience, right? Because you're going through an incredibly difficult and traumatic time. I mean, for some people, like your partner, I mean, it's terribly sad and difficult because it's something which is so life-threatening. And for other people, it might be something whereby they have a child's leg, which might be fractured, but both want the same thing. Like in some cases of user experience, we're trying to improve the consumer experience. But in this case, we're already managing such a high level of anxiety that we're trying to see if we can at least make sure that what they're going through, which is unbearable, that we turn it into a bearable experience. So it becomes maybe the most important user experience that there is anywhere in the world to make sure that this is managed.
100%.
And then, so how did you do that? One moment is saying this is bad and it's wrong. And I think everybody listening to this podcast will say, yeah, Brian, it doesn't, like, you're over in India. I'm in the US and in LA. I'm from Ireland. Like every health system, I actually watched the Eurovision Song Contest, which is something I don't often admit to, but I watched it the other night and there was a song which came on from Serbia and the entire song was about how bad their public healthcare system is and how they need to provide better. So everybody in the world relates to this problem. So one thing is the problem exists. It's terrible. Humanity should not have to deal with this considering how much we pay in taxes, but it exists. Another thing is trying to solve the problem. So talk us through what that journey looked like.
Sure. So we knew that the problem is there, which needs to be solved. But of course, getting validated is very important, because we as founders, we are always filled up with a lot of assumptions. So what we did was, I and my co-founder, I believe, I remember those early days, we used to visit a lot of hospitals, a lot of diagnostic labs, and we used to talk to their decision makers. We used to ask them, like, how many calls are you getting in your customer care department? What's a drop off like, and what's the situation? And they all used to complain us, like they used to tell us that we are bombarded with calls. There are patients who are crying. There are patients who need urgent help. So the problem was there. Then when we knew that the problem is there, we decided to develop a MVP product. So it was a very basic product, which had no AI, nothing, just a very
Yeah.
simple interface through which people can book appointments, or they can make a query or something like that. We launched it for one small brand in India, and we could see a lot of traffic coming in up, and the healthcare company was delighted with the experience. And that's when we realized, okay, there is a need. The MVP is in the right place. If we scale it up further, we add more features into it, it could turn out to be a big idea. So that's how the journey started for us.
Wonderful. And I think everybody would have seen the idea as something that the world wants. How difficult was it to build this?
We had a lot of sleepless nights. Like, there were a lot of things that they were happening. Like, there were a lot of challenges. Firstly, because I not like I and my co-founder, we don't come from the healthcare background. We had no experience in this, nor we come from a tech background. So those two things were not aligned with us. But we knew that the problem is there. It needs to be solved. We tried to connect with influential people, like people who are from healthcare. We tried to connect with people who are from tech background. We tried to connect with people who are running their successful startups. We tried to learn from their experiences. We compiled that knowledge, and we thought about designing an MVP. And then I think as you work, life teaches you a lot. When you struggle, those lessons, those struggles teach you a lot, and that's more than enough. Nothing can be a better teacher than those struggles.
Okay, so you got to work and you said, we're going to build this. And then, so again, now let's move a step further. One thing is thinking it, another thing is building it, another thing is building it properly. So how did you work out the workflow for what that customer experience should look like from the interaction? Because this is somebody who's got a very anxious moment in a very difficult place in their life, and they're all different, right? We all react to it in a very different way. So talk to us about what that looked like.
So I think for any founder or any person who's building up the company, listening to customers is very important. Like I told you, I and my co-founder, we used to meet a lot of stakeholders from hospitals. We used to understand their pain points. We used to understand what they want, where the struggle is. We used to talk to patients, and those experiences, those knowledge helped us a lot to build our product. And when we launched our product in the market, we used to keep an eye on it, like where is it lagging or where we can improve. And all those teachings helped us to improve the product and make it better day by day. And nothing is perfect, so it takes time. And even now, almost 1.5 years has passed by, we still feel there's a lot that can be done. So it's a continuous process.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you threw yourself headfirst into this, both of you, and you immediately went for building. And rather than something that we see an awful lot in the United States, which is that people are just raising, and that's all they do. You
No,
built.
that
You just
that
went
makes no
straight.
sense. No.
Yeah, you went straight at it to build it and get that customer validation first, so you could make sure that you were providing the market what the market needed, not just what they wanted. Talk us through that validation process as you realized you were starting to hit product fit, or did you hit product fit straight away?
I think we did. So we were lucky on that part, because the problem was there. Like, there was no rocket science behind it. Uh, so uh, like I told you, we used to talk to a lot of clients. We used to take their knowledge, and based on that knowledge, we used to put that in our product and try to make it better day by day. So that was a process we were following up.
Okay. And then, so who told you that it worked? Because one thing is feeling it yourself, but another thing is a client buying things from you. So when was the first time you got that client validation that made you realize, we got it?
So I'll tell you. So that's an exciting story. So we had no client. We had like we just had an idea, MVP. We got connected to an IT director of one of the largest diagnostic chain of Middle East region. I won't
Mhm.
name that brand. So I got connected with them on LinkedIn. They connected with me on a call, and they told me that they would like to have a look at our MVP product. They would like to understand what our product is all about, and they loved it. Like I'm like really fortunate to get this opportunity. So they gave us the project. They told us that your idea is good. Why don't you build it for us? We developed it for them, and today our product is helping them making a revenue of almost $90,000 on a monthly basis. That's the
Oh,
amount of revenue
fantastic.
they are making. And not only they used our product, they referred us to other clients, and that's how the chain started. And we started selling off our product to multiple Middle East countries, and, and so the life became easy after that.
Incredible. And then as you got more and more clients, I mean, did you find that those clients were staying with you, or that you were churning them or losing them? What was their reaction, and how did the relationship develop?
So as of now, Touchwood, my churn rate is 0%. So I'm not losing any client. In fact,
Mm,
my clients are referring us to other clients, and our business is growing tremendously. I mean, on a month-on-month basis, we are growing at almost 38%, which I believe is a pretty good monthly growth rate.
it is a unicorn growth rate.
Not a
If you continue growing at a 28% growth rate, then
not
you will
28,
hit
not 28, 38, Brian,
38.
38%,
God bless you.
38%.
God bless you. That's even better. It's a unicorn rate. I love it, because all we as investors are looking for is a company that can grow. Normally, when it's starting like 10 or 20 grand a month, we want a company that can grow 3 times in a year, 3 times in a year, 2 times in a year, 2 times in a year. And so you're nicely on that track. And you've really, what I also really liked is you've made the hospital and healthcare system, you've made that your beachhead. You've made that the area to go into, because the area of customer experience from a communication perspective is a problem in all industries, right? It's not just the healthcare space. It starts in the healthcare space, I think, is a really big space, and then it goes across the other spaces.
Honestly, I believe that this has been a ignored segment. I mean, in developing nations like India, I'm not just naming India, I'm just talking generally about developing nations.
Uh-huh.
We often talk about 10 minutes delivery, like that's pretty cool idea, but still we struggle to get ambulance in 10 minutes. We still struggle to connect with
Mm.
healthcare companies in 10 minutes, and it could lead to a loss of life. So that's something needs to be changed on an immediate basis, and that's what we are trying to solve.
That's actually quite depressing. It's just that we can have a Coca-Cola delivered to us in 10 minutes, but we
And not
cannot
an
have somebody
ambulance.
to save our life. Oh
And it
my God.
happens. Believe
That's
me, it
so
happens.
depressing. Yeah, it's true. I mean, somebody can sit and say, I want to have some M&Ms sent to my house while I'm watching a movie, and you can have it before the first person gets killed in the movie. But
Yes.
you can't save your life, because those other problems are convenience problems, which are what we call like they're fast entertainment. While what you're fixing is not fast entertainment, what you're fixing is a lifelong important problem, which will have effects on everybody's lives forever. So it takes time. It's not simple. Okay,
Yes.
good. So we like this. You're growing, your customers love you. If investors didn't hear it, and if you can't see me with a big zero in my hand, 0% churn. Remember, when you're investing in companies, you're looking at three things. Number one, what is the cost of acquisition of a customer? Number two, you're looking at how long does the customer stay with you? 0% churn is about as good as it gets. And number three, how long does it take to close a customer? So huge tick in the box for number two. And we're going to look into number one and number three in a little while. Before we do that, can you just talk a little bit about what make this solution so unique? And where does the voice part of it really add to a solution that you could have done in very much an automated text form?
Okay, so let's talk about the text part first. So, see, designing bots is not a unique idea,
No.
but what we did differently was we took healthcare as a niche market. We knew that there's no company that has specialized in the healthcare segment. Healthcare is a very sensitive industry, which is not easy to serve. So, what we did was we did a comprehensive study. to understand how patient journey happens in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
We collected huge amount of healthcare data on which we trained our AI modules. So that
Mm-hmm.
gave us a lot of benefit. And the third thing, which was the best part, we developed the capacity to integrate our system with any backend system, no matter how conventional the system is, which is used at the hospitals or diagnostic labs. So these three things helped us a lot. And then our clients made a lot of money on a monthly basis. They referred us to other clients, and that helped us to generate a good business and a good goodwill in the market. Now coming to the voice part, so that's the next product we are coming up with. Now the idea is we need to automate the call center. There's a huge traffic at call centers. Believe me, like the number of hospitals are limited, and there are a lot of people calling at the customer care. There's a waiting time up to 10 to 15 minutes, which can be disastrous in a healthcare segment.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to cut it down at 0 minute. For that, we are designing our AI system, which is going to talk to the patients on phone. And only if there's a thing of urgency, then the call will get transferred to the human agent.
And that will cut down the amount of time and work by 70-80%, I'm imagining.
We want to get it, we want to bring it down by almost 100%. There should be no
Wow.
waiting time.
And then if you look at voice systems that people have tried to integrate previously, how do you separate yourself from that as far as the solution?
I think they're pretty horrible. If I be blatant, they're really horrible. I've tried using the voice systems that are used at banks or restaurants. Okay, but then these are not things of emergency in healthcare. If voice AI is not able to understand the patient, it can be disastrous. So we are very careful about our approach. Whenever we launch a product, we will launch it only when we are confident that it is capable to serve millions of patients.
I love that. It's like you're not checking your bank balance here, right? We're trying to
Yeah.
find out
Yes.
if we're going to live and die. So it's tremendously important. And then so as we go a little bit further in on this, we're going to start looking at the how the future vision, especially looking backwards, is going to be like everything that's going to be included. But I want to focus a little bit on before we get to the growth and like how great you've done on building that in the company, just talk also a little bit about some of the challenges, because it seems like your journey so far has been very simple and very straightforward. And I know that that's not been the case. You're building something unbelievably complicated with an incredible amount of variables in there, with the human emotional part of it at an absolute stratospheric high. And so you have to have had a ton of challenges from that moment you decided to do this, to step in and be the difference between terrible experience in hospitals for high anxiety people and a great experience. But talk me through some of the real challenges that maybe almost derailed you as a company.
They're countless, actually. Just talking of a few main ones. Firstly, we had no funding, so it's a completely bootstrapped startup. So our product was not ever ready on day one. We actually built it along our journey. So that was a big challenge to, whenever we got a chance to connect with the clients on call, our product was never high tech or something that's gonna attract clients. So generating that credibility was significantly tough. Secondly, we had no clients, we had no experience in the healthcare, so getting confidence is very, very tough. And third, as I said, there are a few companies which are doing very well in the bots industry. They are already present in the market for the last 5-7 years. So competing with them was really tough. They had $1 million of funding, team of almost 400-500. We are a team of almost like 4 to 5 people. So there were these challenges, and getting those clients was tough, and then getting good investors was also tough. But we were fortunate to have you join our team. So yeah,
I believe in great product. It takes, some folks ask, why is resilience so important in a founder? And
100%.
I just think it's the unfairness of life. If life was fair, what would happen is this: when a new product comes to market that's better, everybody would buy the new product and people would be less interested in the old product. But because life is extremely unfair, if the old product has a better branding and storytelling team and they have a big enough team, then the consumers never get to find out about the great attributes of the new product. And most entrepreneurs, they fight that unfair battle every single day until they can't fight anymore.
And,
So,
and believe me, that
and you
makes life
overcame that.
interesting. Yeah, and that makes life interesting. So I think I would repeat it again. You need to listen to your customers. That's very important. Second, you need to be persistent. Without being persistent, you cannot survive. And third, you need to enjoy all the challenges that are coming along the way. I think that plays a big role.
And that's easier said than done because
Of
those
course.
challenges can be brutal. But if
Yeah,
you're an
definitely.
entrepreneur, if you truly love the journey of what you're doing, you do embrace those challenges because they all become a little bit more of the flavor of the meal that you have, right? If everything is sweet, the meal doesn't taste incredible. You have to go through the sour so you can actually then take it to appreciate where you get to at the end of it. So you've built, so now here's where we are. You saw the problem, huge problem. You realized the solution needed to be better than the market was providing, which I agree. The vast majority of bot solutions out there are inadequate. I have spent more than one occasion having very loud conversations with a bot that has not been listening to me. So it's not just the actual text, but it's the voice as well, which is a problem because it's not built with enough understanding of the specific challenges that unique sector has, right? The vast majority are extremely general, extremely vague, and they're built in a pretty slapdash way. So I agree. Your prognosis of the situation in the bot space is very true. It's a new generation of bots. And what I'm really interested in is like, how do you continue as you go forward to keep the innovation level at the stage that it's at right now? So talk a little bit about what that integration looks like, and maybe we'll go into the revenue a little bit about it afterwards as well.
I think in tech, if you're running a tech company, you need to be innovative. You have to come up with new products on a regular basis. Otherwise, you're not going to survive in the market. And that is something always been. That is something we have always followed at Voiceoc. We have a product ready, but when we talk to the clients, we listen to them and they tell us about like 7 to 10 problems. When we talk to other clients, they also tell us a few more problems, and then we see, okay, where are those most of the common problems coming from? Like what is the set of the most common problems? And if we feel that those problems are aligned with the vision of Voiceoc, we try to do it. So for example, I told you, like we came up with bots, but now we are working on voice AI. We are also working on social media integration, where we would be trying to understand patient experience data, which is coming from different channels, and trying to make sense out of it. We are also working on diagnosis AI, which would allow our AI to understand the symptoms of the patient and recommend specializations accordingly. So innovation is something that keeps on happening in our company on a regular basis, and our idea is to deliver new products to our clients, existing clients plus new clients, and ensure that the revenue is growing on a monthly basis.
Wonderful. And again, I'm going to get to the vision in a little while. I'd love to focus on the revenue a little bit and how that's going to grow, and then also focus on the raise. We don't need to look at the valuation because that can be a conversation with the investor. But if we can speak to how much money are you going to raise? Like where's the revenue today? How do we take that monthly revenue up? How much are we going to raise? How is that going to impact on the monthly revenue? And what does that journey to $100,000 a month look like? And then what does the journey to $1 million a month look like?
Okay, so right now we have got more than $10,000 of MRR. We are looking to raise $500,000. Our aim is to take this MRR to at least $50,000 by the end of December. So
Fantastic.
that's the goal we are looking at. We we are now looking. We are also chasing the SMB market. This is one market we never thought about much, but now it's a huge market. It's going to give us an opportunity of almost $6.6 billion market size. So that's something we are chasing. And yeah, so $500,000 would do wonders for us.
And then that gets you up to $50,000 a month. And then this is a very sticky $50,000 a month, because once you're in these systems, very hard for the systems to even push you out, especially if you're providing a better and better service. And then how is that going to affect the hiring, the people in your team, the size of your team, and really where that focus is going to be on going forward?
So of course, hiring is something that has been happening on a regular basis. But yes, once we get that 500K number, we are now looking to add more executive level people in a team, like head of sales, VP of sales, head IT, CTO, all such people whom we badly need to stabilize the company and grow at a hyper growth speed. So uh, we are going to invest a lot in our people for sure.
I love that. And one of the really nice things is any of you investors who have been listening to these podcasts for a while, we're incredibly bullish on India and we're incredibly bullish on Africa. Those two areas are killing it right now with
We
great
recently entered
companies.
African market. We
What's
recently
that?
entered. We recently entered the African market.
Right, because it's a huge market for
Yes, huge.
breakthrough, and the valuations of the companies are going really high. At the beginning, the valuations are very fair, and then once you go past Series A, they start moving to the same level as an American company. So the opportunity for an investor to be able to break into these markets is really good. The beautiful thing for the companies is that really what they're spending $500,000 on, if it was over in the US, we would need to spend $2 million on because the market is that crazy over here. So they have the opportunity to scale. They can build it with a small amount, which means less dilution for you investors for as you're coming into this as well, and better strength for the company itself. And then as you go forward and you take it from $50,000 a month, which is a good, strong base to build it from, how do you then see that in 2023? I know you're going to go into the SMB market, but how do you see that turning into ongoing growth in revenue?
I mean, to be honest, I've not thought about it, but yes, the growth rate is going to double or triple it for sure.
It's got to go up, and then so we can you can dig into that later on with investors, so investors can see it. But everybody can see that the growth trajectory is very simple. It's a math equation. Each new healthcare institution that gets taken on board is going to provide an increased monthly recurring revenue. If the churn stays extremely low, it's going to mean that that's only going to keep going up with more money coming through. And from our side of it, as an investor and as an entity that are going to help them raise investment in the future, our expectation is that at the beginning of 2023, we're going to be looking at a $2 to $3 million raise. And that will be to take the company to the next level, especially for the break into Africa. Okay, so here's where I'd love to finish. We've covered the journey. We've covered the product. We've covered you and your team, which is a fantastic team, which is breaking forward. We've covered the growth of the team, and we've also covered the increase in revenue. Now, where I want to finish is I want to take it to two things. One thing very easy, another thing very important. The thing that's very easy is everybody's going to want your email address. So we want to make sure everybody gets your email address so people can contact you. Of course, everybody out there, I am Brian at expertdojo.com. You can email me anytime, Brian at expertdojo.com, and I will happily connect you. But just so you can connect directly with Voiceoc themselves, you're going to get the email address here. Now, for the second thing, and much more importantly, is I want you to pretend we are 10 years in the future. And I want you to look back on what you've achieved over those 10 years. I want you to look at the entire legacy of the company and your impact, either just in the healthcare industry or just in India or just in Africa or in the whole world. And I want you to pretend that you're doing an interview at that time and give me a minute on what you've achieved during the entire history of those 10 years in the company. What has your impact in the world been? Okay, so let's start it off with your email address and then let's finish off nice and inspirationally.
So my email address is kagarwal@voiceoc.com. I would spell it KAGGARWAL at Voiceoc, VOICEOC.com.
Beautiful. Now tell us your vision.
So the vision is to help almost 3 million healthcare companies globally provide better experience to the patients and also help them grow their business. So that's the vision, patient experience. We want to save lives through our company.
I like that. And I like the fact that it's quantified because 3 million is a heck of a lot of healthcare organizations. Listen, Kush, it is great to have you on the show. It is fantastic, even more fantastic to have invested in you. I love watching your journey and being a part of your journey and seeing you building your monthly recurring revenue, seeing you building these clients, these customers, these healthcare organizations, bringing them online, making their experiences better, make all those people that are going through these terrible life moments make their lives just a little bit easier. And I agree with you. I see in the future you being a major part of the change that will help healthcare organizations just be a little bit more human.